Are you looking for a faster video? Well, today it's a live stream, and I know you're probably looking for a really nice and tidy, edited down video, but I have ways for you to make it faster. You can click that little gear on the YouTube settings right there on the video and adjust the playback speed, make me sound like a chipmunk, and it'll go a lot faster. You can also look and see if there's timestamps for this project in the description, and if you're on a desktop, you can hover over the time bar at the bottom of the screen and see if it's chunked up into chapters, and then that way you can go directly to the step you're looking for. And lastly, you can also tap on the screen on the right hand side of the video picture or on the left hand side to make the video jump ahead, forward or backward if you're on a mobile device. And you can adjust that amount in your settings so you can have complete control over how much it jumps. So if you are on a desktop, you can use the fast forward or the rewind, and that will make it go faster as well. You can also enable subtitles, and the little CC on the screen will enable closed captioning. That way, if I am a little bit harder to understand with that double playback speed, the subtitles might help you out. All right, well, I know that it's not a nice little edited video, but if you sew with me, we'll get there together and it'll be lots of fun. And now for the live stream. Happy sewing! Hello. Okay, I'm changing things up today, but I think you're gonna like it. And so it means I'm still preparing a little bit, but I'm pretty much there. So please let me know if everything sounds and looks okay, because I've definitely rushed the setup. So there's so many of you already saying hi. Hello. Hi, Fiona, Sydney, Michelle, Ray, Delwyn, Aisha, Beverly, Amy. Nice to see you all. So my chair is all like cockeyed too. All right. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking today. So I couldn't help myself, and I wanted to get my machines. I kind of wanted to test some settings on my cover stitch and my serger yesterday. And so I sewed up the black underwear because I knew that those wouldn't show. Hi, Lindsay. Hi, Carrie. And it's Thursday here too. It better be Thursday here. Hi, Patricia. How's it going? So I was kind of testing out my settings and stuff, and I just can't help but experiment, right? So this is what I'm thinking, and I'm going to sew a pair of underwear or two or three. Don't worry, I'm going to do that. But I think most of you want to know, what should you do when you're sewing underwear, right? Or sewing elastic. Hey, Libby, how's it going? So this is my proposed experiment. And I do have videos on how to sew underwear with Picot elastic and how to sew underwear with fold over elastic on my, in my YouTube channel, in the playlists. I think it's in the knits playlist, or it's in the quick how-to essentials playlist. So you can find them there, and I'll link them in the description of this video after I'm live. So just look for them there. Hopefully I remember to do that. Can it please be Friday? Exactly. So this is what I'm thinking. All right, I'm going to do a little test, because all of us have different elastics and different machines, right? Hi, Emily. Right, Michelle, exactly. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to do a test with my elastic on, I'm going to sew each of them 4 different ways. I'm going to sew them zigzagging it on to the fabric, turning and zigzagging and top stitching, overlocking it on and zigzag top stitch, overlocking it on and cover stitching it, and zigzagging it on and cover stitch. Hello, Mary Alice. So I started to look this morning. I was like laying in bed and I was like, someone had to have done this. And I couldn't really find anything like this because I was kind of curious. And so I also planned on sewing all of my underwear with my Picot elastic, but for some reason my thing of white Picot is just it's just missing, which isn't like me. I always say that, but it isn't like me to lose something like that. Like I even lost a little bit of time today looking for it again. So I only have black, which doesn't really work on all the underwear I'm doing. And I just love fold over elastic so much, so I want it to work. So I will admit that part of me is being stubborn about it. But because I really can't sew all of the underwear I cut out with Picot, why not test it? And then this way, you'll know what to do with what you have on hand without going through the fiddliness of it. Because every sewing underwear tutorial just basically tells you so many times how easy it is. And it is kind of easy. And they even rate, a lot of them rate it as a beginner project, but I'm going to tell you personally, I don't find it easy because it's fiddly. And if you aren't into fiddly, then this is probably not the kind of project you're really wanting to dive into without some information, right? Hey, Vestigia, how's it going? I am going to find the elastic after today's stream, Aisha. You're absolutely right. Or I'll find it, like, I can remember the 3 things we ever lost when I had chicken boots. And Rayanne and I still talk about it because we lost a whole cone of brown thread once. And we were just like, how could we lose that? It had to have fallen in the garbage can. That was the only thing we ever came up with. So, all right, so I'm going to do that with the Picot. I'm going to do those 4 styles with the Picot elastic and the fold over elastic. And I'm going to try and do it with braided elastic too, because braided elastic, which is just like standard old, you know, braided's kind of one of my favorites to use. And let's see if I can give you a, oof. I could turn the overhead light on, but I felt like there was enough light. Braided is different than knitted. There's lots of different kinds of elastic. Braided is one of my favorite. I don't prefer non-roll either. And I don't have like solid information on that. I just don't like non-roll. It's really chunky, and I find it also gets crackly over time, and I don't know. I just don't like the stretch of it. I love the braided. So yeah, well, and that Carrie, I might not be able to help with, but at least I can narrow that down. So that was the other thing. That's actually what I started searching for, because everyone says to pre-cut your leg elastics. But here's the problem with pre-cutting your leg elastic. Unless you leave a little bit extra on each end, you have nothing to hold on to when you sew it on, and that's what makes it fiddly. And so if you want to build that in, that's fine. But often you buy the stuff in a package and you have a very finite amount. And that's why one of my tips yesterday was measure what you think you'll need. At least measure your leg opening of your underwear pattern that you're using. Measure that. You're going to at least use that amount, if not less. And buy the amount of elastic you need per pair of underwear you're going to make, because there's nothing worse than having 9 inches left over on 3 different cuts and you can't use any of it because you can't piece this together. So I think this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm proposing. I've cut a bunch of pieces of fabric, and I'm going to try and I'm running this like a true experiment, okay? So I'm trying to use the exact same fabric for all of them. And I tried to find one of the stretchiest knits in my stash. So I'm not using the bamboo or rayon, tinsel, whatever that stuff is, even though that is pretty stretchy, because I just don't think a lot of people are going to use it, but I love it, right? And see, Brenda, I really think the fold over, it is a little bit nerve-wracking, but I find it to be the easiest. Isn't that funny? Hello, Rebecca. I love how everyone's just talking about what they've lost. What have you lost, Sydney? Oh my gosh. You'll find those when you move, Sydney. What? We have a bot in chat. Hide user. I don't really know how else to do that. I need a mod to help me. Oh my gosh, that is so funny, Aisha. I find spare keys when I move. That's when you'll find her keys, Sydney, when she moves. Hi Nancy, how's it going? All right, so this is my plan. I'm going to do this same 4 sewing styles on each of these 3 elastics. So the fold over elastic, I'm not going to be able to do all four because you don't sew it on that way. It's a one-step process rather than a two-step process, but I will be able to pit the two against each other, zigzag versus cover stitch, okay? And then the other thing I'm going to do is, okay, so this is what I think I'm going to be able to tell you. It doesn't matter whatever Picot elastic I'm using, because chances are you and I aren't going to be using the same stuff. If we are, we don't know it because it's not like it comes branded, right? But you will know how it rates in those four different methods so you can compare how it performs. I'm going to sew the same length on each piece. I hope I have enough elastic, to be honest. I'm going to sew the same length of fabric as well. Why are all the bots here? Go away. Camilla, you are naughty. Bye. So, one for sports bra band elastic at some point. Oh, yeah, Sydney. Don't you love it when you find things that you didn't know you lost, too? Oh, now Michelle. Oh, God, you guys, the keys. Next will be the wedding ring losses people have lost. Okay, so this, I think, also will reassure people that you don't need a cover stitch to do this. In fact, I'm going to admit I really love the way homemade underwear looks with a zigzag stitch. I don't know why, but I just love the way that looks. And the cover stitch can be, it's great because in a way it feels really finished and it looks professional. However, I do find that maneuvering under the head of the cover stitch machine with the bed that you're allowed, the surface you have, can make it fiddly more. So don't forget to switch to live chat. Thank you so much for saying that. Why, am I missing other trolls? Hey, Mullen, how's it going? I've already had 2 trolls, Mullen. All right. All right, so I have my fabrics, and so when I need like, well, actually 1, 2, 3, 4. I only need 10 pieces of fabric for it to all be the same. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Really? All right, so we'll do the, let me think about this. So this is what I think I'll do. When I'm zigzagging it on and zigzagging the top stitch, I'll use the same fabric for each one. So you could really go, really go to the nth degree on experiments, right? Oh, wow, Lindsay. Oh, I know. This shark fabric is one of my all-time favorite knit fabrics I bought. I made a t-shirt out of it. It's so good. I just love the fabric, too. It's just like a white cotton lycra I got from Hearts Fabric. And it comes, I think, in rayon. Can you imagine a dress in this? That'd be funny. Yeah, right, Libby? It's so true. Okay. Because the cover stitch is really fiddly because when you are pulling your fabric, you have to, anytime you're, and I'm going to probably say this 1,000 times today for anyone who hasn't sewn things like knits with elastic on them under the needle, the key is always stretch your fabric, hold it, then sew it, and keep it stretched. Do not pull while you're sewing. Keep it pulled. In other words, you need to keep it static. So if it's, you know, if you're stretching, keep it stretched, then sew it, right? Because now it's not being pulled. So if you're pulling, if you sew and then pull as you're sewing like this, what happens is you're bending the needles, and then your needles will hit the bed of the machine, the throat plate, something underneath. You can get a barb or a hook, a barb on your hook underneath, especially on your cover stitch. So it's the one thing I talk about. And when you're doing it on a cover stitch machine, it's just really hard because it's the pressure of the presser foot isn't quite as much as what I'm used to on my industrial, which is kind of babies me. And then there's so much stuff in the way to hold it. I don't know why. It's just really fiddly. Sussex found 9. Oh no, that's hilarious. Okay, so the first thing I did was I've tested the stretch, and I'll tell you how I do that too. So, because I do it in a really cheaty way. I had to test the stretch of fabric in one of my very first professional jobs. I worked for Bum Equipment, which anyone from the 80s remembers Bum Equipment, right? So I worked there, and we did a lot of garment dyed knits. And so we were constantly testing the stretch of every lot of fabric. It didn't matter that we were buying the exact same SKU fabric from the exact same manufacturer. The stretch changed and the shrinkage every time you got a new lot, and you had to check it. So you develop these really quick methods. And so what we did was we used a 10-inch square. We would draw a 10-inch square on like a big piece of fabric, like a half yard or yard piece. We'd wash that and test the shrinkage. Or 20-inch square. We did a 20-inch square on shrinkage test. And then 10-inch squares sometimes, because it's easy to figure out the percentage of stretch in your head. And that's why. And so I do a 10-inch piece. And so what I did was I took my elastic. I don't know if I have a ruler that's that long over here. So let me grab one really quick, because the one that I have over there it's on the front of my machine. So you can't see that. Oh, it just snapped my shirt. Okay, it's okay. So this is how I test stretch. And you don't have to do any math. Okay, what are you sewing the first line with elastic? Do you stretch both elastic? I feel like that's 4 different ways I can interpret that question. How do I find jobs like what? Are you a troll, Poppy? Answer me now. Okay, what are you sewing the first line with elastic? What are you sewing the first line with elastic? Do you stretch both elastic and fabric? It depends on what you're doing. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. A lot of people don't stretch the elastic very much on their underwear. They're like taking off like 10%. So that's another thing that I think you could experiment with, and that's kind of what I was doing yesterday is, you know, stretching. Like, do I stretch the elastic a lot and then lay it on the fabric and sew it on? What's that going to do? That's going to cinch up the fabric, right? And it actually prevents the elastic from stretching past a certain point, because you've already taken out a lot of the elastic and the stretch and attached it to the thing, right? I don't want to confuse you guys. Like, I don't want to like throw too much at you. Oh, how do I find jobs testing elastic? Well, I wasn't an elastic tester. I was a sample line coordinator and a first pattern drafter there. So I drafted all the patterns for the production pattern drafters. And I had to test all the fabrics, and then the production pattern drafters finalized the pattern and added shrinkage. So it was an entry-level job at the time. So, and I stayed there for a long time. I don't think I even ever went into the production pattern drafting side of things. I just did first patterns. I did the pure patterns. That's what they called them. No shrinkage. Yeah. It was a stressful job. It was really awesome. I learned a lot, but it was kind of stressful because my boss was super paranoid. And at the time, he was so worried about being ripped off design-wise that I worked in a locked design room. It was so unsafe. So he was very eccentric. Okay. Use source for various widths and colors of plush back lingerie elastic. Stitch Love Studio, Cheryl. I'm not like promoting them, but I was looking yesterday and someone in the chat really likes them. They're not here today, Christy. Did you guys ever see the elastic into big and shoot each other? So the elastic. No, not really. Okay. Your 3 favorite. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. For undies with Picot. Okay, wait, Carrie, wait. What are you saying the first line with Picot? So yeah, so getting back to that. So when I did a few tests yesterday, and so I think that you don't want to stretch your elastic too much when you're attaching it to underwear. The key with underwear is that whatever you're sewing, whatever stitch you're using is going to stretch. Because as long as the fabric stretches and you haven't really stretched the elastic too much, you've allowed the elastic to have its full amount of stretch remaining, as long as whatever you're attaching it to the fabric with is a stretchy stitch. And that's what we're going to test today. All right, and so this is how I test the percentage of stretch. So I'm going to put a pin. I'm not going to use the end. I'm going to measure in the middle. It'll be more accurate. We're going to measure, and I always recommend doing this. Stretch your elastic a little bit. Oh my gosh. Stretch it a little bit like this. Because trust me, it stretches out a little bit. Put another pin, or you can pin it or use a marker. All right, and then, hi OAN, how's it going? Nice to see you here. Oh my gosh, you guys are so funny. All right, and so then I'm going to hold this kind of firm. I really like doing this to a ruler that's attached to the table. I'm going to hold this really firm. And then I'm going to stretch this. I don't know, can you see all that? So it's going all the way to the 18. This is an 18-inch long ruler. So that means it has 80%. So if it's stretching 8 inches past the 10, it's 80% stretch. That's the easy thing. So if you do 10 inches, it's really easy to figure it out. And you can even tell this is it's already getting a little stretched. So I can probably do this 100%. It goes well past the 18. This is the stretchiest of all the elastics. So I figured out my percentage of stretch on each of these. And so this one right here it was like 50 to 70% stretch, the shiny fold over elastic. This pre-folded one right here is 60 to 80%. This plush back Picot that is from that place Stitch Love Studio, Cheryl, that I just mentioned. They have a lot of colors, and only reason I recommend them is because I was looking yesterday for elastic from Waywack, and they're completely out, and they don't have a big selection, but they have a tried and true assortment. But they're all out except for the 50-yard roll in pink and the 50-yard roll in red. So it's very specific. And those were Picot, not plush back. And then, and so this one right here, this purple was, I wrote this down on the package. Let me look at it, because I'm going to make a record. 70% stretch. It's very firm. This Picot here was 90 to 100. And this one here is 80 to 100. Okay, I got my stretches down. Well, I actually have a couple of how-to videos, and I kind of am pivoting today. We're going to test the different ways you attach elastic on and really figure out what the best thing to do is in like zigzag versus cover stitch and overlock, fold over, and Picot. So let's get to it. I'm kind of excited. You guys know I love experiments. Oh, really, Nancy? That's funny. I mean, I can relate to that. I had to change the needle, and I don't have enough needles right now. Oh yeah, and bra builders. There's a lot of bra making sites, bra milkers, bra builders, and bra makers supply. This is an unfortunate combination of words. And let's see. What I do caution you, Cheryl, I don't know if Cheryl's still here, but what I caution you is buying it on Amazon. So like the fold over, I got like this stuff right here. It was really, really affordable. It's not pre-folded, but it's kind of meh. And I just feel like you don't know what you're going to get as far as the Picot goes. So, oh, and 10 yards in red. Maybe that's what it was. 10 yards in red, 50 yards in pink. Is that what it was? Or they only had it in pink and red. I just didn't need red. It's very specific. Okay. So we're going to do Picot, FOE, and braided. One of the reasons too, this is a good idea to do this today, is the number of thread changes I would have needed to go through for all the underwear we cut out yesterday. Oh man, I don't know how long, I don't know if you guys would have suffered that. So I have my little home machine out here. I'm gonna put a jersey needle in there. I don't really know what's in here, so we're just gonna toss it. The last thing I sewed was most likely buttonholes. And I want navy blue. I have all the other machines threaded. This one needs the needle and the needle change and the needle threaded. That's it. Same with this one. Ooh, what's going on here? So sassy. Oh yeah, they came up in my search too. I think it depends on what you like too. Be kind of careful pulling this down. Yikes. Okay. You ever wonder why I don't use a home sewing machine on camera? Because I can't get a good camera angle. I don't know how people do it. All right. So let's see. What do we think the best way to do this is? If I do a zigzag with a zigzag top stitch, and we'll do that with some fold over and some Picot. Let me get all my elastic. It's in a bin here. Oh, I already have a roll of the braided over here. All right, so I think I'll use this and this. I'm going to use just these two styles for our tests so that we're consistent. Yeah, I think so too, Nancy. I got this fold over from Minerva, so if you're in Europe, I think they might have a good supply of elastic styles. So, yeah, Janice, we were just talking about this. I love this fabric. I really wanted underwear out of it, but the piece I had just wasn't wide enough. All right, I got 2 fold over elastics here. How to do that? All right, so here's my Picot. And so let's cut a, so we're going to give ourselves like a 1/2 inch on each side, which would mean this is 11 inches. And then we're going to take off, I'm going to take 10% off a 3-point zigzag to top stitch. What does that mean? What does 3-point mean? Is that the kind that does the, like, it comes around and then it kind of makes a stitch and then goes back over? So I'm going to cut each piece about this. Let's see what this is. Let's just cut each piece, wait, 9 inches. I'm going to cut each piece 9 inches. That's a little more than 10% stretch because I want to be able to have something to hold on to on each end. So let's see, this machine is geared towards quilters. So I'm not sure what my ideal stretch stitch options would be here. I can show you guys my, can you guys see my, oh, I don't know, can I bring this down? Oi, I don't know. Oof. So see how this one's a regular old zigzag right here? This one, the zig and zag are rounded. So each leg has more than one. Oh, I see. So it's going toot, 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 toot. Oh, okay. That sounds like it would take forever. And so do you think it is nicer, Rebecca, because it, thank you, Libby. So you know exactly how to talk to me. So Rebecca, do you think it is nicer because of the way it looks or the way it functions? I need some scrap fabric that's knit. Zig, 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 zag, zag, zag. Here, we'll do it on this side so we can see a little bit. Oh gosh, I need to turn off my industrial because I'm trying to use it right now, and that's dangerous. I feel like it's this one here. Oh yeah, okay. What's that stitch length though? Both, okay. Okay. We need to go this way and this way. I'm getting skipped stitches. I think I'm getting skipped stitches. All right. Ooh. Interesting. I didn't know that's what that was used for. Ooh, I'm not sure. I feel like this would hinder the stretch because you're binding it. Is that not the case? Am I wrong? That's a word, man. Wow. I love the way it looks, Rebecca. I think it's a really cool stitch. All right, I am going to take Rebecca's word for it, but I'm going to do my experiments in the zigzag only to save time. And yeah, it would probably take some more thread. So I'm going to definitely revisit that someday, though. So I would encourage everyone to just give it a try. It seems like it's more secure. Because see, the zigzag, you know, right here, you have this gap right here under your stitches. Whereas this, you don't have that. And can you even see that this, down the middle of my stitches, do you see that little valley? So it's pulling a little bit where I'm not getting that over here. So I can see that that would be really nice. Very cool. But yeah, I can see, I don't know if you can see it, that little line down the center underneath my stitches. Oh yeah, you can see it. It's pulling it together. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Michelle. So, Michelle, what you can try is lessening the pressure of your presser foot. Most times that's on top of the machine. There's like a little dial. This machine isn't there. It's on the right-hand side. I actually never really adjusted either. All right, let's try one. So we have this 9-inch piece here. And so we're going to put it face down, right, like this. So this is the goal. We're going to zigzag this on, turn it, and zigzag it, and so that the picot is sticking out. I never do this, so just bear with me here. So we're going to, you want your needle to line up just to the right of your decorative stuff. I'm going to make it a little longer, but not any wider. All right, so now I'm going to hold this end. And I'm going to stretch it. Like this, see? I'm holding it stretched. Oh, this is kind of it's a problematic fabric, isn't it? See, so there's that much stretch. I'm not stretching it. I'm stretching it. I'm going to hold it like this. All right. All right, so you usually want to trim off this extra, which this I feel like is where things can go wrong. I don't have to trim it off though for a demonstration, so we're just going to skip it. All right. But you kind of want to because it would look nicer once it's turned back, right? Because see how you can see my raw edge there? If we trimmed that off, it would be tucked in there and no one would see it. All right, so same thing. How do you like my zigzag stitch? Is that like too close? You have to use a walking foot on your zigzag too. I'm backstitching because I don't, I just want to be consistent is all. All right, so we're gonna kind of fold it back along this edge and I'm gonna pull it just so that the elastic is flat. I'm going to try and get it going a little bit first. This is why you need a little bit more of a tail so you can kind of pull it a little bit. On my serger and my cover stitch, I leave a thread tail. It's kind of just something I figured out by accident, you know? The zigzag looks a little wide. My machine's like, I'm supposed to be quilting. This is the length. I'd say is 2.75. The width is 4. Yeah, I'm surprised you're still getting that issue. All right. Look at that stretch. Nice. Okay, our next one. We're going to zigzag a piece on, and then we're going to cover stitch this one. We're just going to do all of our zigzag here as much as we can. 9-inch piece of elastic. And then we're going to say zig on, zig top stitch. I wonder if it would be, let's try sewing this from the fabric side. That seems so wrong. But then I can see my stitches. Let's see. So I kind of put it like a 1/2 inch past, so I have something to hold on to. I'm going to stretch it so that it's flat, and I'm going to hold it in the middle here. I really wish I had left myself a bigger tail though. I'm using the palm of my hand right here, the gush of my thumb, to kind of pull the fabric away. I can't see the Picot. This is a bad idea. Don't do this. Learn from me. Oh, yeah, exactly. The binder clips. Yeah. That's a good point. All right, so this one we're going to cover stitch. Come on. Let's get rid of some threads here. This one's going to be zig on, cover stitch, top stitch. Okay. Now let's do some fold over elastic. I'm going to try this stuff because I think it's going to be a little fiddly. So I'm going to use a 9-inch piece of this too. So this is not pre-folded. It is fold over elastic. There's the score right there. I think you could use it either way, meaning shiny out or in. I'm going to put the shiny in. All right, so yeah, I really wish I would have left myself a bigger tail. I thought I was like, oh, that's enough, but this presser foot is really deep back here. Come on, baby. What's up with the trolls today? They bored? All right, I'm just trying to get it going. The thing about using the fold over is it's better behaved than you think. This stuff's weird though. This stuff kind of flares. Can you see that little flare in it? I need a little bit more. Okay, now I can grab it. As long as you keep your fabric in there, you know it's going to land on top of itself. So all you're really worried about is keeping the fabric in the fold the fold line. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Braided elastic. Is this riveting or what? All right. 9-inch piece. We're gonna have some good information afterward though. All right, so this one, I mean, it doesn't have a decorative edge. So there's a few ways you can add braided elastic. So you could attach it by overlocking it and then turning it and top stitching it like on that elastic waistband video I have. No, I am just going to do a piece that is a percentage in length less than the piece I'm sewing it to. That's true, Beverly. They probably did. I didn't think about that. I missed the whatever the quilting talk was, but well, what's really cool about quilting is it's hard. That's what I'm attracted to it for. It's hard. All right, so it depends on what you're thinking about using braided, if you're going to use braided elastic, you're, probably trying to use what's on hand, and that's something I would totally do, me, I'm always trying to just use what I have, right? So if we zigzag this on and then turn it and zigzag it, you're going to see 2 rows of zigzag on this side and 1 on this side. You will see your little bit of raw edge kind of poking out, like this one won't have it because it's inside there, right? So you could do it like it's the Picot, right? We could put it right sides together and then turn it, and then the elastic would be zigzagged on, so it would look like this, right? Like the Picot does. But you would have this elastic towards your body, just like the Picot, just no decorative edge. So there's a few ways to do that, right? So, if you don't want the elastic to be against you, you could just put it behind and do it, like that. So, in other words, faking a casing. I'm trying to think, can I do all the ways I said I would on this? Zigzag on, zigzag top stitch. Overlock on, zigzag top stitch. Overlock on, cover stitch. Zigzag on and cover stitch. Let's do it the same way we're doing the Picot. So it's going to be exposed against the body. I'm just going to get it going. I have so much braided elastic, this would be great, right? All right, and so now we're going to zigzag it on. Do I have this is my thread tail? Great. Don't clip your thread tail. till you're done, so you have something to grab onto. I love braided elastic too. My machine doesn't mind it. It lays nice and flat. It doesn't roll unless you overstretch it, like anything. And I don't find it breaks down. Okay, so that's what this looks like. Look at it. I mean, what do we think of that look? It's not a Picot edge. Do we hate it? I actually don't mind that. Does it look budget? Oh, what braided a lot. Let me see if I can get a white, or at least a different color example. Let's see here. You know, I have this funny little piece of paper. Where is that thing? Oh, here it is. Oh, I have this Japanese stuff too. Okay. Okay. One time, let's see if there's a published date on this. 2007, I was in a Joann Fabrics, and they had this little elastic guide on the end cap. Do you guys ever see these things? And I grabbed it. I didn't look at it for years, but it is pretty interesting because look, it has all the different kinds: non-roll, knit, woven, rib. It's pretty handy. So I'll show you a few examples. So this right here is, I'm pretty sure, a knitted elastic. And I'm looking for some braided. This is definitely knitted elastic. Can you see how there's like these little loops up here? I feel like that's a very telltale sign of the knitted. And braided, very sure this is braided. Oh, this is knitted as well. It even says it. Oh, this one you can see how sheer it is. The knitted isn't very stretchy either. I don't find it very stretchy, but sometimes it can be softer. So let me find some white braided. What is this? This is probably, this is very stretchy. I'm not sure what it is. Oh, this is braided right here. No, that's knitted. This is my little like bent. Oh, this is braided. Okay, so braided, it does have these like kind of grooves that are running parallel to the long edges. It's firm and flat. Trying to think another good good description would be, you can even hear it. You like, yeah, with the elastic encased, yeah. Okay, and so like this right here is the non-roll stuff. Doesn't stretch very well, and it's very chunky. I still see this stuff roll. I don't know. That's a good observation, Michelle. I'm not sure though. Yeah, right, Libby. The other thing great about the braided elastic is it doesn't do this. This is knitted. I can just tell because of this right here. Braided doesn't do that. See? Well, this, I feel like this is knitted actually, but I'm not sure. I might be wrong about it. I'm not sure what this is. This looks like a sample I got from a company. But the braided, it's really hard to get it to fray. Like I'm really pulling on it. I think Picot elastic is knitted. Picot just means that it has the decorative edge. That's all Picot means, is that it's decorative. So basically, when we're testing the Picot versus fold over versus braided, we're testing knit. What's fold over? Fold over could be a woven. It could be woven elastic, because there is woven elastic out there. This might be a jacquard. I think it's knitted actually. A lot of knitted styles out there. This is a very soft plush fabric. This actually might be jacquard. Usually jacquard has a design in it and it's raised. I'm not an elastic expert. I'm sorry if I'm not explaining these very well. These are all, this is the leftovers of all of my underwear sewing. This one's really pretty. Look at this. Knitted. Very soft. Or thin, I should say. Here's a very big example of braided elastic. Oof, it's very stiff. Very stiff. All right, let's get back to our experiments here. Oh, I got this Japanese elastic. I think this is a woven. It doesn't stretch very much, but it's really pretty. I got it when I was going through this phase of wanting the elastics to look nice on some of the chicken boots things where the elastic was exposed. And then I realized that it didn't matter and I wasn't going to compromise the stretch amount. So yeah, no problem, Rebecca. I don't know if that was helpful or not. Okay, so far we have sewn zigzag and zigzag top stitch on braided, zigzag on zigzag top stitch on Picot, zigzag on fold over. We have, so this one's done, and this one's done. I should have done this with the wrong side of the fabric showing. This one needs cover stitch. All right, what else can we do on the zigzag? We need to zigzag on the braided elastic, and we're going to cover stitch that one on. Oh, goodness help me. So then we're going to go over to the serger and the cover stitch next. I'm not going to have enough of this shark fabric though. All right, so this one's going to be zigzag on, and then we're going to cover stitch it down as well. Let's do this as if this is the right side so we can see it better. Okay. Wrong pedal. Good thing I turned that machine off. Oops, this is the back stitch. Okay. Did Ray get back here? Oh yeah, definitely, Michelle. I will. Yeah, I know people are going to want to just dip out of this stream too and just come back for the results. All right, so this one's gonna get cover stitched. Okay. All right, so let's go over to, we still need to cover stitch this, the fold over elastic on. Okay, so we've prepped that. All right, we will be back here. All right, so we have this one and this one ready to cover stitch. Let's get our fabrics and our elastics. I kind of want to try the other fold over as well. I wish I could find my white, my white Picot. Well, let me put my phone on so I can see chat. Oh, can I? There we go. Okay, okay. Turn that lady down. She's so annoying. All right. So for this one here, this was the zigzag on, and we're going to cover stitch it down. And this is the braided elastic. Oh, okay. I really wish the raising and lowering was right here. It is on my Evolve. Try and get a few stitches so I can pull it. So again, this is the braided elastic. So when you're, see this is already has some, you know, it's already gathered up because it's been stretched to apply, like the elastic was stretched when it was put on here, right? So I can't just sew it like this, right? Because then I would stitch down all this. So you have to stretch it. You need to stretch it and then sew. Do not stretch it while you're sewing. I know I am stretching it while I'm sewing, but I'm not pulling. That's what I should say. Don't pull while you sew. Just hold it static. And it's really helpful if you have something to grab onto in the back. So if you can budget elastic for that, I highly recommend it. So when you release it, you can let it go, get it in the spot again, hold it. All right, so we have this one here. All right, and then this is the one we zigzagged on, and now we're going to cover stitch on. I don't have much of a tail on this one. So I kind of want to like sew like a piece of fabric on there, you know? So I can have something to hold on to. Let me just sew it a little, you know? Just had a panic attack that I didn't have a bobbin in there, but okay. All right, now I can hold on to this. Could I just cover stitch it on in one step? You know, I've thought about that, Libby, but I don't think so. You can do that with fold over. Let me think about that for a second. Like, let me get through this and then I'll... See that, Nancy? Does that give you more confidence? The cover stitch is made for this, so it does want to do that. You can't really see this on this kind of fabric, though. That's why I should have been doing this so that it was the wrong side showing. All right, so now we have that. So to just cover stitch it on in one step, you would have to be able to hold your fabric like this. you would have to have it folded and then cover stitch on. So if you feel comfortable doing that, Libby, I don't think there's anything stopping you at all, you know. So if you could you could iron your fabric maybe and then just cover stitch it on. But do you see why that would be tricky? Nice, Ray. Good for you. All right, so we just did these two. I gotta keep track, otherwise I'm gonna lose track. So zigzag on. Okay, we did this one, and we did this one. It's impossible to write on here. Okay, so now we're gonna overlock. Okay, so we can cover stitch the fold over elastic. We could do that. Let's cut this piece 9 inches. All right. It's so little to hold. So this you can do in one step. Sometimes I will give myself a helper where I will sew across the edge here on a regular machine if it's in the seam allowance, and then and the other side too. It kind of is just nice, especially if you're doing really short sections, sort of like what we're doing today. Let's see if I can get this going. I just don't think I can. I need a little helper piece of fabric or something. Let's see here. I'm just going to cut another little piece of fabric off. I just didn't want to use up a lot of elastic, you know? Like this. Sorry, just a second. That's awesome, Nancy. All right, so we'll just sew on. Look at how big your presser foot is here. See, so to get a little tail to hold on to is pretty tricky. I think I'm going to actually have trouble because it's going to not like this thickness right here, even though I'm removing that later. So when I attach elastic, I don't cut it off the spool, and I don't think that's very recommended, and it's because then you can't make sure that you sew each leg on symmetrically, right, with the same amount of elastic on each piece, on each leg. All right, bit of a rocky start, but now we're good. All right, so this one, remember, you just need to make sure you have your fold on the edge, and then you can apply it on one. And this is so much easier than it seems. It seems kind of scary, but then, you know, you're just holding the elastic. You know, I'm holding it like this at the end. Hold it stretched. And then all I have to do with this hand is just make sure that that edge is in that fold. Oof, I'm a little bit off right there. That is why this is my favorite way as far as a technique goes, because it's one step. All right, now we're going to overlock on. Overlock on and zigzag top stitch. So I'm trying to make sure my fabrics are about the same. Let's test our stretches on these two. Let's see how far we can stretch this. This one doesn't stretch as much. All right, so let's cut a few pieces of elastic. I think I need 2 picot. and 2 fold over. Or no, I don't need any fold over. I need 2 braided. There's a free print out on the Pattern Emporium. A print of what? I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'll mind my own business. All right, so I have 2 Picot, 2 braided. So this is going to be pretty fiddly. We're going to overlock the elastic on, and then we're going to cover stitch one down and zigzag the other. Oof, let's see if I can do this. So you could also, you can drop your blade if you like. I'll drop my blade. If you can. If you can't, just make sure you stay, try not to cut your elastic. It's not the end of the world if you nick your elastic. It's really weird not having the blade there. So again, stretch it, then sew. I'm going to leave a long tail for the cover stitch machine. All right, so we have overlock, on, and zigzag top stitch. We just need to overlock all these on. Okay. But I feel like we're going to run into a problem not having the same fabric, you know? What do we want to compare to? What would be the most true? Overlock on and zigzag top stitch and cover stitch on the Picot. Yeah, so we'll keep the Picot to Picot on the sharks to sharks, you know? Or braided on the sharks to sharks. Ooh, I love that question, Janice. What is the sewing thing you would want, Nancy, that you don't own? She probably has a few things she would like to give away too. Can we get a good look at these? What are you looking for, Berkeley? I'm just doing a bunch of tests and I'm not quite done with each one, but I will definitely show. Oops, should have left a longer tail. All right, now we're going to do the Picot. We're almost done with our experiment. I'm excited. Yeah, definitely, Berkeley. I will. They're not done yet. But, I am, yeah, definitely gonna. I'm excited. I'm gonna, more importantly, the close-up is, you know, probably not gonna be as helpful as the stretch amount. So the one asset to using a serger and cover stitch is the stretch stitch, right? All right. I find that it feeds better without the blade when I'm doing these fiddly things, but I do not like sewing without the blade. It's really disconcerting. Like I'm imagining it there right now, you know, and it's not even there. Okay, you got a Simflex today? Nice. All right, so now I'm gonna cover stitch 2 of these, one of the Picot and one with the braided. Nice long tail there, that'll be so helpful. See, I wish my, where's her foot? Oh, I'm already off a little bit there. It's so fiddly, it's so fiddly, it's so fiddly and fiddly and fiddly. Did I say it's fiddly? Once I finish these experiments, I'm going to sew some underwear too. So you've been very patient if that's what you're really here for. But like I said at the beginning, there is a couple of how-tos. Oh, I hate it when I do this. I have one extra thread in there. Here we go. I do have tutorials on my website. Worst cover stitch ever. So this was the Picot. It's done. There you go. And you are done. This is Picot and Picot, so this one needs a zigzag. Okay, got it. The Simflex is really fun. I forget to use it, I will admit. I don't know what the alert was for, but thank you. Oh, someone subscribed. Thanks for subscribing, Judy. I missed it on my phone there. All right. This is my last one on the cover stitch. We're gonna go back and do the zigzag. I'm gonna hold it halfway. I think that'll be better. A little easier. This cover stitch, I have trouble staying on my work. I would like a guide or something. And I think, honestly, I think it's just because it's narrow. That's all. It's just skill. I just need to practice. Okay. I'm gonna bring the list. Oh, a Simflex. Yeah, I can show you. Here's mine, here's mine. It's a button and buttonhole marker, and so you can evenly space your buttons and buttonholes. It's kind of a splurge purchase. They're not like really expensive or anything, but you don't really need one. It does kind of give you, what I like about it is it gives you instant visualization on the spacing, which is kind of nice. You know, it's like you can go, oh, okay, 3 inches is where I'm looking at in the 3-inch realm, you know. Okay. Yeah, Mafia, I think that's true. You rarely use the blade on your serger, Elena? Oh, interesting. Oh, I missed someone's question. Deborah, hi. I think it was a bit behind, but when you use the cover stitch, you can't chain off with the Juki. Remember, you have to stop on the fabric. Don't mean to be a pain, but I have a Juki. Yeah, I'm not trying to chain off. My left one's the serger and the right hand's the cover stitch. But thank you. My old cover stitch, I could chain off. And this one I can't. And I am trying to get used to that because I used to also not have to lock the stitch at the end. So that has been a big adjustment for me. I really miss just being able to chain off and it was a lock stitch. But it was a nicer cover stitch. Okay. Home stretch, home stretch. You guys are hanging in here. Right? All right, so this one needs a zigzag. And you need a zigzag. I really regret not sewing these so that you can see them really well. All right, so I'm going to do the zigzag on this one. This was overlocked, braided elastic. Wrong machine. See, I'm used to using that machine. All right, look how clean this looks though. Oh, come on, get over there. When you're for me, I feel like I need to be an octopus when I'm sewing this kind of stuff. This little part of my hand is doing a lot of work. I'm pulling this like this. So I'm just stretching it so it's flat, that's all. I'm not stretching it beyond the length of the fabric. Okay, this one is the Picot. Boy, this is really narrow. I need to make this a little narrower. When I set up my serger and cover stitch yesterday, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. I set up the serger to be a pretty narrow stitch because all of my Picot and braided is 3/8 of an inch, so it's pretty narrow. And then on the cover stitch, I actually put it to a 0.7 differential. And I really want to play around with that because I'm still getting to know that machine. But that was what was recommended in the manual, so that's why I did that. All right. Okay. So let's lay out all of our findings here. This is braided, braided, Picot, sorry if I've been missing comment. If someone's asked a question and I didn't answer it, please just ask again. I've been a little focused and they're all talking about stuff. So I may have missed it. I'm not ignoring you or thinking your question isn't worth answering. Please just ask again. All right, that's extra fabric. Are you serious? Okay, there we go. This is braided. Fold over with zigzag, fold over cover stitch, Picot, okay, and braided. All right. I can't believe we kept track of this all. This fabric is lighter weight. You can tell it's kind of curling. I'm going to kind of lay it down flatter. All right, so just let's go over really quick. So this one here was this is why we were writing them on zigzag, top stitch, overlock on. Okay, so this one is oh, Ray, thank you. I'll just not write it on there. Okay, so this one's zigzag. The elastic is Picot. It was zigzagged on and cover stitched as the finish. This one was zigzagged on and zigzag top stitched. This one was overlocked on, zigzag top stitch, overlocked on, cover stitch as the top stitch. All right, so we have, none of these are written on. Oh no, here we go. Zigzag on and cover stitch would be the second one. Zigzag on, Wait, this one goes here. I'm going to put them in the same order. This one is zigzag and zigzag. Zigzag and cover stitch, zig zig, serge, zig, serge, cover. Okay, and then we have this. All right. All right. I know. Okay. Donna. Is Donna here? Oh, hey, Donna. How's it going? Nice to see you. Okay. Let's figure it out. And we're going to just figure out what the percentage of stretch is once they're done. Let's do our fold overs first. All right. So we have this. This one was just zigzagged on. I'm going to say 35% stretch. Fold over with the cover stitch. I'm going to say about 25 to 30, more like 25. So clear winner with the fold over. The zigzag was stretchier. All right. Okay, so now we have the picot. We have zig and zig, zig and cover stitch, overlock and zig, overlock and cover stitch, just imagine if you really wanted to do a proper experiment. All right, so zigzag. This is the overlock braided with cover stitch. Overlock braided with cover stitch. I'd say that's about 25%. Oh, that's cool, Mullen. I'm going to try that. I am definitely experimenting. I'm going to keep writing down my findings and then I can explain in it. This is writing ASMR. All right, so we did this one here. This was, oh, this says it's zigzag on cover stitch. Wait. Oh, yeah, this is. So this was zigzag on and cover stitch. I'd say maybe it's more like 30%. It's pretty easy to get there, but 25 is probably safer. Okay. Glad I wrote that on there. All right, this one here, overlock on zigzag finish. That's really easy to get to the 30%. Overlock on zigzag finish. This one is zigzag and zigzag, braided elastic still. Yeah, the FOEs, that's the cheapy stuff. I'm going to try my other one. But I'm not testing out elastic, I'm testing sewing methods. So, okay, so this is zig and zig, easily 40%. Let me double check that's what it is. Yep. Zigzag's winning by a lot. I mean, by often. All right, so this one here is overlock on, cover stitch finish. I'm going to say 20%. All right, so now let's try the Picot. All right, so this one here is overlock on, cover stitch finish. Now remember, the fabric can make a difference. I didn't have enough to do every sample in the shark. I thought I would, but I didn't. I should have done the FOE in this blue, and I thought about that ahead of time and I forgot. So I apologize about that. All right, so this one here, overlock on, cover stitch finish. And I mean, I could probably get to 35% pretty easily. We'll say 30%. Overlock on, cover stitch finish. Because you don't really want to max it out. All right, so this one here is overlock on and zigzag finish. That's 40%. Overlock on, zigzag finish. You also notice that like all these pieces of fabric were cut 10 inches. All the pieces of elastic were cut 9 inches. And, you know, like this one, I could actually see that if I lay it on my ruler here, it is measuring 9 inches right here, even though the elastic was cut 9 inches. So it's drawing it in quite a bit. All right, so this one here is the, I think zigzag and zigzag. Yep, zigzag and zigzag. I mean, we can get to that 40% pretty easily. You know, because look, I can get it even to 50%. That's 50%, but that'd be like really stretching it. So we'll stick with like 40. I should have done a pole. I don't know if we could make a pole that big, but all right, this one here is the zigzag on, cover stitch finish. Yeah, that's easily 40%. All right, findings are in. All right, so clearly the zigzag finish is the better stretch. The ones that got the highest were the Picot, zigzag on and zigzag top stitch, zigzag on and cover stitch finish, and then overlock on and zigzag top stitch, and that's all the Picot. So the Picot got 3 40% and 1 30%. The braided did probably the worst. Zigzag on and zigzag top stitch was exactly like the Picot, 40%. Zigzag on, cover stitch finish, 25%. Overlock on, zigzag top stitch, 30%. Overlock on, cover stitch finish, 20%. So the overlock and the cover stitch were the worst. Aren't you guys all feeling vindicated when you're just like, I need to get a cover stitch machine? Mariah, go away. You're not welcome here. What are you guys talking about? Yoga waistband. Wait. I copied my underwear pattern, so I'm just using one that I made. Thanks, Mullen. You know, Ray, as far as more stretch being better or not, I think it's more what I'm looking for is how much I'm losing by different sewing methods. So I'm suspicious that the cover stitch hinders stretch. And I think I'm pretty justified in thinking that. It's not as elastic of a stitch as, say, the zigzag or the overlock. So as far as the fold over elastic, zigzag outperformed it. Now this fold over elastic doesn't have the best stretch. The better one is this pre-folded one by, not by Minerva, but I bought it from Minerva, but you can find it other places. So we could do a test with this right here, just for funsies, right? I have a couple more pieces of fabric here. I think I have a couple more pieces of fabric here. Yep, I do. And then I'll sew a couple pairs of underwear. Picot edge for the win. So now the thing I don't want you all to think, oh shoot, I bought all this fold over elastic and it's not good. And I did, Berkeley, but that's what I was about to say, and I'm glad you said that, because I think my favorite elastic is the fold over elastic, because I like the one step the one step sewing, and I like how soft it is. However, the way I've applied it before, it doesn't stretch quite as much. It's not uncomfortable to wear. I just feel it when I'm putting them on and off. You know, you can feel like you're capping it out sometimes, right? Like if you trip on the leg hole or something. So I didn't experiment with what if you stretched the elastic and the fabric. What if you did more stretching? What if you didn't stretch as much? You know, like I think you can find some good balances. And you use elastic thread for your looper? Ooh, what kind of machine do you use? Like the make and model. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes my cover stitch hems are great, and sometimes they're just not. All right, so we're going to do a zigzag on this fold over, and then we'll use the cover stitch. All right. Oh, what did I say? I said it was width 4 and 2 3/4 for the length. Glad someone asked me that. Oh, Janome. Oh my gosh, Berkeley. Do you know how often I do that for, I used to do that for, what was it? And people would correct me. Oh, what was it that I would always say the brand was, and it wasn't? It was kind of funny. And kind of like bad on my part. You set the tension really low on your looper. Do you fiddle with your differential at all by any chance? I'm curious. Let me get this going. I love all the tips. Like, don't feel like you're talking down to me by giving me tips or ideas, you guys. Like, I'm open to everything. I love hearing people's things, because then I can test it and see, you know, like, it's really easy sometimes when you're researching something and you get kind of overwhelmed with the research and you just want to like jump on someone else's passionate for a way they do it. And I felt kind of that way with the Picot edge, but I still really like the fold over. I like how soft it is. I like how clean it looks. But I do notice that I will gravitate towards the underwear that have the Picot, because they stretch a little bit better. And that's because I sewed it to a fabric that stretches a lot. So say you were sewing this to a fabric that didn't have a whole lot of stretch, you probably wouldn't notice it as much, you know. Okay. The Bibbidi Bibbidi 2000. Please tell me that's the name of it. Also, tell us more about the elastic thread you use, if you don't mind, Berkeley. right. It's on, is it like on a cone? All right, so we have the fold over. Look at how stretchy that is. All right, let's do the cover stitch version. Whoa. Oh, the woolly nylon. I think there are a few folks that have used that, Rebecca. I've only used it in industrial machines, so I don't really have experience with it on home machines. I'm still getting used to this Juki because it likes thicknesses better than my old machine, but I can tell I'm missing some things on this. All right, I'm just gonna get it going. All right. Stretch it, tuck it in there. You can use binder clips, you know, like you guys have been talking about. I know I'm probably driving you crazy that I'm not using them, because it makes it even more fiddly. It's in there, right? Yeah, okay. I just did that a little too far, I could tell. Oh, the Maxi Lock stretch, Aisha? Bad, Ruben, bad. I don't know what he said, but... Oh, you're using woolly nylon. Oh, okay. Oops, let me change mine. Oh, that's right, Nancy. Nancy, you have a new cover stitch. You got rainbow woolly nylon. You're winning. Yeah, wait, are you guys talking about the hem, yeah, hemmed leg holes? So that's another thing we could try too. And I think that just depends on what fabric you're using. And the other thing is, like we were talking about yesterday, you can do the like a neckband, right? But as a leg hole or a waist. Maxi Lock is a brand like of thread. But they make different kinds. I should get some of that. Okay, so let's see here. You guys are all really great sports for putting up with all my experiments. All right, so this FOE was the flat, and this is the pre-folded. That's how I'm distinguishing the two from each other that I own. I'm not saying all flat would do that and all pre-folded would do that, okay? My experiment is, it's not the most, you know, stand-up experiment, right? It's a little bit flawed, but especially since I didn't use the same fabric. Okay, so this is the cover stitch on. And that would be easily 30%. And then the zigzag. Oof. That's easily 50%, well, we'll say 45%. Okay, so that's the clear winner, is the zigzag pre-folded on this stuff. I like this stuff. I think it's cute. It comes in lots of colors too. And it's not really that cute anymore once I've zigzagged it on. The cover stitch might, like if it matches, if the thread matches, it does look a little nicer. I'm also using on my cover stitch, the other thing I did was I'm using the far to left needle slots, not the outer ones. Hi, Virginia. Oh, okay, cool. Why are you saving for a, Oh, you're using it in for overlock. I thought you already had a cover stitch. Oh, okay. Which Juki are you thinking about? Yeah, the rainbow woolly nylon sounds fun. All right, so Virginia uses Maxi Lock stretch, and then there's Maxi Lock woolly nylon. Oh, I'm gonna get some of that. That sounds fun. All right, so shall we, Virginia, I'm realizing you're the person who emailed about the cupcake ruffle, and I don't know if you got my emails, and if you still need help. And I'm really sorry, I forgot to check the pattern while I was here. So I'll email you back today. Maybe we could just search for it on the internet. Rainbow woolly nylon. All right. So what am I going to sew my underwear with? Let's see here. I don't want to zigzag. I'm so stubborn, aren't I? Zigzag and zigzag braided. I could do the zigzag fold over. That's 40. That's actually, look at that. That's pretty good. That's higher than this Picot. No way. Let's actually make sure about that. So the pre-folded, but this is this fabric too. You know what? Let's do, this is what I can do. I'm such a silly goose. We're going to sew this to the other side of the shark. What are the other things? It's these two and these two here. Do we really want to correct these two? Because I could do the, let's see, overlock and cover stitch Picot to the other side of a shark, and the overlock and zigzag Picot to a shark. Do you guys mind if I do that? I need my experiment to be a little bit more kosher, you know? All right, so we're gonna try. We're gonna do these two on these two here. Okay. Really, Libby? You sent me a package? I haven't been to the post office in forever. I'll go. Ooh. Ooh. I'm excited. I feel like there's black licorice. Okay. So let's make it Ray. Ray is such a good cheerleader. If I just want a positive response on something I want to do, I'm going to ask Ray. It's like my brother. I posted pictures of my brother today wearing that sweatshirt, and I thought I was going to have to convince him to do photos. I was like, do you mind if I take photos? He's like, no, let's do it. And I was like, who in the history has ever said that, you know? With enthusiasm. He doesn't even use social media at all. Okay. I feel like that's a ridge, but it's not. It's like a shadow. Like a ridge of my fabric folding over on itself in there, and it's not. Okay. And what was the other one? Was the cover stitch on the shark. I guess I could do that too. Where's the other? Yeah. He's such a cutie. He is so sweet. All right, so this one's gonna get a cover stitch. I should have done the cover stitch one on the cover stitch sample. We could test this one right here while we're sitting here right now. All right. So zigzag on the sharks is more like 30%. Look at that, it went way down because of the fabric. You see that? So the zigzag pre-folded on the knit fabric, this fabric, sorry, they're all knit. This was 45%, this is 30%. So fabric choice makes a big difference. All right, so we're gonna do this on here with the cover stitch, and we're gonna do a picot and a picot. Oof, just cutting into my picot. Where is it? I'm not gonna have any elastic left to do my panties. But this will be fairer, right? So we're gonna do, let's see, overlock and cover stitch, and overlock and zigzag. All right. Overlock and cover stitch, overlock and zigzag. Overlock and cover stitch, overlock and zigzag. This one is like this, okay. We'll do those two need cover stitch, and then we'll just overlap, and this needs a zigzag. My takeaway here is with so many variables with fabric and elastic combos, it's best to test. That's a good takeaway. I think that the surprising thing for me is fabric choice is probably more important. I only did a sample, Rebecca, only because of the time, but I could. Do you want me to do that? How should I, do you want, you can dictate it. Do you want me to overlock it on and then do 3-point zigzag? Or would you like to 3-point zigzag on and top stitch? I only did it just because of the time amount that it would take for me to do all these samples. I feel like most of these folks are here because they are just being polite. Okay, so this one needs to be tested. I'll lay it down there very methodically. All right. I really tricked you guys today, didn't I? It is flat in there. I want to thank my cover stitch for behaving really nicely today. All right. What? Captain, what do you mean thank you, Captain Obvious? What? Oh. I wouldn't have said that to you. I think that sometimes we have to like verbalize what we're thinking, and sometimes it is obvious, but we don't realize it. Yay, Elena, no meetings during stream. Sorry it's not more riveting. Okay. Okay, point to point, 3.3. So, all right, so let me do these tests here. So this right here is the fold over with cover stitch. I'm going to say 20, maybe 25. It's more like 20 if we're going to, you know, kind of, we don't want to stretch it out to the max, right? So this is the pre-folded cover stitch. So it's quite a bit less on the shark fabric. Thanks for subscribing, Abigail. Okay, Gloria, well, thank you. Okay. I think I would like it, Rebecca. Okay, so this, so obviously the fabric selection makes a big difference. I picked these two fabrics for my test because they had the most stretch, besides the bamboo Tencel rayon junk I have. No, it's not junk, but that stuff. Because the fabric I had the most of was like a modern jersey from Spoonflower, and that doesn't have that much stretch to begin with. It has probably like 20% maybe stretch, and a lot of these just by themselves, you know, they have, well, this only has 30%, so maybe the modern jersey has less than that. So, Lena, good. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm a little bit non-riveting. Okay. So we have this one here, and then let's do, this one here needs a zigzag, and then this one here is the Picot with cover stitch on shark. Picot with cover stitch. That's 30% Picot. Overlock and cover stitch, 30. It's the same. Okay. So we just need to decide if this one here, overlock with zigzag. We just need to do this one here. And then we'll know all of our fabric, all of our tests will have been on the exact same fabric. And then we'll do a 3-point. Because that's what we're here for. All right. So I guess you could really take these experiments one step further and trying different fabrics. All right, so this one right here is Picot, serging with zigzag again. That's pretty easily 35%, I'm gonna say. It's almost, it's like maxed at, you know, 40. So overlock with zigzag is, okay, so we're just going to downgrade this one to 35. All right. All right, that's all of our shark tests. All right, so let's do this one for, let's do the 3-point zigzag. What elastic? We want to do Picot or braided, Rebecca? Probably Picot, huh? I know, it's very nerdy. It's not for everybody. I really like doing stuff like this, but it also makes the stuff I sew down the road better. You know, like then I don't worry about like how I could do it differently or better. And I actually really like it when, because it's not very common. I welcome the viewers to challenge me. It's not very common that they do, because then it makes me better. Like, in some ways, I know a lot of people are like, there's no way I could do this live because they don't want to be challenged. But at the same time, yeah, that makes me nervous too. But I always learn something and it just makes me better. So I have the last laugh that way. All right, so we're going to do the 3-point zigzag. And I need to adjust the length. It's weird, when I put that on, it does no length, which is weird because that would mean the zigzag would be squished. I'm just gonna try and, I'm gonna find a stitch first before I don't want to experiment on our thing. Okay, that's actually pretty good. Let's do a little bit narrower. All right, that's good. So this 3-point zigzag I learned today is a lot of folks' favorite. And what it is doing, as Libby very perfectly described, it goes zig, 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 zag, 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 zig, 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 zag, zag. So it's sewing the zigzag in as a stitch rather than the zig being one stitch and the zag being one stitch. How'd I do? All right, so let's try this out here. It's gonna take a little longer. Let me get it going. And now we can kind of stretch it. All right, let's do it. All right. You guys really are a breed. No, first zigzag or overlock. Oh yeah, I forgot you did say overlock, but I did the 3. Okay, this works. Okay, good, good. Okay, good. All right, so it already feels nicer, I will say. Like it feels nicer on there. All right, so let's do our last stitch here. I wish I would have done it the other way. I keep putting the sharks on the outside. I'm really sorry. I know you guys probably want to see the stitches. Grab that tail of thread. I'm just going to get it going. All right. You wouldn't normally be doing this on a 10-inch piece of fabric. It's very fiddly. But it's nice and straight, which is nice as opposed to a leg hole. Okay, now I can grab this. All right. Sorry, shark. Oh shoot, I just let that snap. All right, so that's what it looks like. If you can kind of see, So each of these legs is, I want to say it was 3 stitches. So it is going, you know, zig, 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 zag, zag, zag. You got lost cleaning flower beds, Terry? You must have an amazing garden. You're always out there. Yeah, it is my buttonhole foot. Thanks, Barbara. All right, let's check it out. So let's see here. Ooh, it's a nice stretch. I think I could pretty easily get that 35. But it's more comfortable at the 30 range. So the 3-step zigzag. Look at how nice this looks though. So look at how nice this, can you guys see, like, okay, so look at the profile of it this way. We should do it on some solid fabric. So this is the zigzag over here, and that's on braided. Maybe if my zigzag was wider, it would have a nicer look to it. But I do love the little blumps you get. I don't have the autofocus on because it does that crazy thing. It looks very nice. Okay. What did I say? 30 or 35? 30. Nice. I mean, you get the same stretch as the overlock and cover stitch with the Picot. $30 pretty good. I mean, yeah, I'm going to stay at 30. I was going to try and get it bigger, but I just don't think it'll work. I like the way it looks, though. It feels more secure. So I think the one drawback about that is that you might go through needles a little faster, and you do kind of want to have a fresh needle when you're doing knits. At least my machine likes a fresh needle when I do knits. It will skip stitches pretty easily. So... and Barbara's right, I am using my buttonhole foot because that's mostly all I use this machine for is buttonholes. I don't use it for sewing garments. All right, so we could sew some underwear now. 2 hours later. Oh, you guys are nuts. What do I want to sew they're navy blue. I set up my machines with navy blue. I was thinking I could use the white FOE. But really, like, that flat, the pre-folded, this was, I want to look at it on the shark if I want the better. Yeah, I think the Picot. So this is what I'll say. If you're using a fabric that doesn't stretch as much, maybe go for the elastic that stretches more like the Picot. And in the method, right? It'll help you compensate for that fabric feeling limiting on the elastic. The fabric I'm going to use is a cotton knit, so it's a little limiting. So I should probably use the Picot, to be honest. Yes, it does. It looks more lingerie. It could, Ray. My sewer's aid. What's that? What's a sewer's aid, Just Gloria? I don't know what that is. But I want anything that's going to help me. All right. So on this one, could I zigzag my... What if I zigzag my... So then, okay, so this is what we did not experiment with is stretching the fabric and stretching the elastics to kind of add to the amount of stretch you're getting. So theoretically, I would assume if you're stretching out your elastic as you sew it on, you have now made the piece of elastic shorter. I'm just thinking about things. And so, but what I like about stretching something as you sew it on is that it will stretch easier because the stitch whatever you attached it with isn't going to limit how much it stretches. So of my elastics, this pre-folded and the Picot have the most stretch. The braided does pretty good too. These three here. This flat, which is kind of crazy because the flat zigzag is 35% and the pre-folded was 30. You just, oh, it helps the thread not break as much. I have never heard of that either. Is it like a wax or something? Thanks for subscribing, Mary. Welcome. Interesting. You apply it to the thread spool before sewing knits. It's like a thread conditioner. Oh. That's interesting. I wasn't having trouble with thread breaking, but I was having some skip stitches yesterday, and I just changed my needle and it solved it. You can apply it to the needles. Interesting. Sewer's aid. I was kind of hoping it was like a little leprechaun with a seam ripper. Oh, okay. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing. All right, so what do I want to do? I don't know. I feel like I want to do the zigzag. I really wish I had white Picot though. Oh, so one of the things that I was planning on experimenting with before this whole thing was, that's a weird name. It's a liquid. Oh, okay, it's like a lubricant. Oh. Troll in the chat. Is that I was going to experiment with holding my fold over elastic and treating it like it's Picot. Let's try it. Let's try it. I gotta know now. Because I do have some white of this I could use. I keep using up this beige. I'm not gonna have any left. All right, so we'll use the zigzag. I'm going to use the regular zigzag. I'm going to make it wider. I'm also going to make it a little longer. You have some, Ray? That's hilarious. A clear non-staining lubricant drop in the sewing machine will help reduce skip stitches, any friction. Oh, very cool. All right. So I'm holding my fold over elastic as one layer. Because my stretch on this it's pretty good. It'll be a little thicker than the Picot I have, but it won't be thicker than this Picot here. This is pretty thick. So 2 layers of this. Okay, let's get it going. Because maybe I'll do this on my, if I don't know, we'll see. I just want to keep experimenting. I want to try stretching and not stretching and There's so many variables because, you know, what if your machine doesn't really like to stretch either? All right, let's check it. Oh no, Derry. All right, so this is the fold over elastic held together as one, like Picot. I feel like, you know, it pretty easily gets to that 35. Max would be 40. FOE as Picot. Would I say 35? One thing that you do as a pattern drafter is you train yourself not to get attached to numbers. And what I mean by that is that it's kind of a blessing and a curse. You try and I always try and let numbers, when I'm measuring things, fly out of my head, because I will inadvertently skew the result I want. If I know I want 3 3/8 and I sit there holding on to that number, when I go to measure it, I don't trust myself to get the actual measurement. So I try and let it go. And so that way it is a truer and more unbiased measurement. Because like I always said, remember I worked in the design room, and if I was having a lot of trouble, my coworker would be like, what measurement do you want? You know, because you can kind of skew things, you know, when you're really starting to get yourself all worked up about something. The grand finale. What's the grand finale? Oh no, I feel pressure. All right, so what do we think about that? Using the fold over elastic. It's nice and soft. It feels nice. It's softer than the Picot. If it matched, I think it would look nice. I think that's pretty good. 35%. Why does that stretch better than putting it on as the fold over? This stretch is about the same, I would say. I don't know, though. Look at this. This is drawn up more than this. Look at that. Same exact size of everything. That one is drawn up more by a lot. An inch? It's like 10% right there. Maybe that's why. Yeah. Yeah, what do you want it to be? The first time she said that, it was like, did she really just say that? I didn't know her sense of humor at the time, you know, like I was still learning. It was kind of new. And I'd only worked there for a few months. And then I kind of got it and I was like, right? She's like, yeah. So we were just obsessed with being accurate there. And so you start realizing that the more accurate you are, the more inaccurate you are. Oh man. Okay, so I think I'm gonna sew these underwear. I'm gonna serge and maybe, do I want to serge and maybe zigzag? I think I want to serge and zigzag. All right, let's go over to the serger. We'll sew some underwear here, finally. I'm gonna move the cover stitch out of the way. When we can move. I have all these little toolboxes here. Move this guy here. I want this. No, let's just do this. How's that? That's not too bad. Okay. So I have these. So I have black linings. These are the bottoms. We're going to batch sew a few. Here is the gusset. Here's the front. Here's a back. Here's a front. All right. All right, so the way I like to sew these is that I will sew the gusset, the lining and the outer at the same time. It's kind of fiddly. Looking for the right side of the fabric. So we're going to make a sandwich like this. Oh, let's put the knife up. Can I do that? Yeah, we hadn't even started sewing. What was that noise? Come on. We're just getting to the fun part. All right, and so then I take the front and I do the same thing. I mean, it feels a little fiddly because I'm going to take this piece like this. I'm going to flip it around like this, right sides together, right? So this is how the underwear will look. We have the back, the gusset, the front, right? And so we're just putting this in a sandwich as well. So I'm putting the front there. I take that gusset and flip it around. Don't get lost in the sauce there. Just kind of try and keep track of it. I get it going and then I straighten it out. So all I'm worried about right now is this first inch. You don't need to straighten out for the whole seam. So now we got it. I just need to get a little bit on my fabric. There we go. And so now make sure you get the bottom, the middle, and the lining. Or just make sure you get all 3 layers lined up as good as you can. This is how I do yolks too. All right, so now we have this clean finished gusset. And we'll do 2 more. We're batch sewing. I usually lay out my pieces flat, but you wouldn't be able to see them there, so I just have them right here in little piles. Okay, so this black is really hard to see the right side. It doesn't really matter, but you know. If the police, the sewing police ever come by, that's probably not the thing they'll focus on. They're going to focus on the fact that I don't use a magnetic pin holder or something like that. Imagine. Don't you feel like when you were learning to sew that there were sewing police? Oh, man. Oh, sorry. I started off kind of badly right there. Let's get that going a little bit further. Guess what? You are your own sewing police. There is no one judging your sewing but you. The lining I'm using is so much lighter weight, so it's not cooperating with the other 2 pieces. Taco undies. That sounds kind of like an unfortunate placement of your underwear, though. Ray's referring to the fact that I don't use the burrito method. We call it taco. So again, here it is. I just flip it around like this. I actually had someone ask me if I've ever tried it in one of my videos recently. I think the other day was the first time I did it, right, you guys? On that, what was that? Did I just miss that seam? Got to make sure you get all 3 layers, otherwise you'll have a hole in your underwear. Yeah, what's coffee syrup? Oh, like coffee flavored syrup. Right, Nancy? I know. I know. See you, Virginia. Have a good day at work. My friend, I was talking to my friend yesterday. Actually, funnily, she's the person who sewed my wedding dress for me. Good friend. I did not make my wedding dress. And she said, she's one of the hardest working people I know. Like literally, she's so hardworking. And if anyone loves a good experiment, it is my friend. Like we have nerded out on so many different kinds of experiments in the time we've known each other. Sewing and not sewing related, you know? And she was so funny because she was having a kind of a tough boss day, you know, like being a boss of her own business. And she said, I know this is going to sound terrible to someone like you who works so hard. She goes, but I'm not really a good hard worker, or I'm not really that good at that. And I was like, are you kidding me? She's like one of the hardest working people I know. It's always the people who don't think they do something who do it because they're trying so hard, right? Because to compensate, right? And I was like, you know, I literally just was at my office preparing for my stream tomorrow and setting up my machines and kind of experimenting with it and watching a TV show. And she just started laughing. I was like, you know, stop saying you don't work hard just because you don't work the same way other people do. I said, and trust me, I know you're probably working when you're laying in bed too. She's like, yeah, you're right. We can be really hard on ourselves. Oh, the Azores. That's what it was, Libby. That feels like it was a long time ago, or more recent than that. Okay. Oh, see ya, Aisha. Sorry I didn't say bye. I can't see as much chat on my phone. All right, so now we are going to, I'm going to overlock my elastic on. I got to find it. It's in this bin over here. All right. I think the white would look good with this. Yeah, I was kind of forced to use it on there, huh? All right, so I'm going to overlock this on. So here's the deal. For as far as the elastic length goes, it depends on your elastic, right? So you kind of want it a little smaller than your leg opening, otherwise your leg opening is going to kind of flap around. So if you want a loose leg, don't add any stretch. So let's walk this along here. I never do this. I usually just do it on the fly, and my legs are sometimes a little different from one another. Oh gosh, Terry. Right? That's ridiculous. I'm sorry, they think that. So this is my leg opening, right? But if I were to put this around my leg, right? My leg's not that big. Like I know it's not this size. Well, maybe it is. Let's check. I got jeans on. That'll be accurate, right? Oh yeah, so it's not the same. So this is what I was going to say. If you could, I would put the piece of elastic around your leg where your underwear sit on your leg and feel what kind of tightness that you're looking for. I'm going to measure this. I want to know what 10% is. I saw someone say that and I was like, So this is 18 plus 9, so 27. So 10% would be 2.7 inches. That's funny. That's about what I was going to take off. 2.7, which is about that. So let's put a clip on this. We're still doing experiments, apparently. I'm gonna measure this. Oh, I just dropped it. 18 plus 9 minus 2.7. All right. So 23 inches. Sorry, I'm not on the camera. Wait, you're not sitting around eating bonbons all day? All right, so I marked this at this amount here. What did I say, 23? Well, that seems about right. We'll see. I feel like I would stretch it more than that. This is kind of awkward. I usually just put my elastic in here, but it's kind of filled with threads right now. So, oh, and the other thing I would do, I would measure your like middle point. You can divide it in quarters. You can do all this stuff, right? We'll clip it to the end here. And we'll do it the eyeball way. If you're looking for a serger, make sure you can do this with it. Lift up your presser foot like this. It's very, very helpful. All right. Nancy. Aren't bonbons just like filled chocolate? Like Belgian style chocolate? Let's get another 23-inch piece. This one's 23 right here. Okay. I have my little mark there. I could cut it off. The only reason I'm not is because I like having something to grab onto, but honestly, you know. A lot of people do though, and I just find it very fiddly. But let's... I don't usually do it this way. That's why I'm all hands right now. Alright, so we'll... Here, I'll just cut this off. Like this. I just stretch it out, like I'm just stretching it all the way, finding the halfway point, I grab it, and then I let it go. So one thing my serger really didn't like yesterday was going over the seams right here at the gusset, these right here. And I'm still trying to figure out, you know, some ideas on how to make it better. Because I do like that this cover stitch goes through most thicknesses pretty nicely. Like it was going through them. It wasn't like, it wasn't hesitating, it wasn't skipping stitches. It was doing it unevenly. So it would kind of go boom, like that, you know, you could see it. Bonbon is just candy in French. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I think bonbon is just candy. That's probably true because I've never seen, bonbons for sale. Okay, so now we are going to go to the zigzag. I do still have a few tips on sewing underwear left, but like I said, I have videos. You guys have all been really patient. So I'm gonna do the zigzag. This is how it's looking so far. Wrong machine, there we go. I have a nice little overlock tail, which is kind of nice. I'm going to do this a lot narrower though because this seam allowance I have left on the back isn't very long. Let's get this going here. So one of my tips right now is when you start sewing this, so right now both of my side seams are open. So my underwear are only sewn here at the gusset. I have my whole 2 leg openings. So I'm going to top stitch this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew one side seam, and then I'm going to attach elastic to the waist, sew the other side seam. So when you go to sew the side seam though, and you're matching, this is your side seam right here. Yours probably looks different, but when you're matching your 2 side seams here, this right here, the amount your elastic is hanging out, you're going to want that to match to the other side, right? So it is good to pay attention to when you're serging that on, right? And then same with the top stitching. Where you, so if I start top stitching this really close to the fold edge on one, and on this side I start top stitching it, meaning the zigzag or the cover stitch, whatever you're doing, like, 1/8 of an inch away. When those 2 seams line up to each other, they'll look a little bit off. So it's just one thing to think about. I never do. I always forget, and it really shows sometimes too. You don't really have to stretch this too much. See this little bump here? I'm gonna have to pull a little bit, go a little slow. When I went through slow with the cover stitch, it worked. It just, like I said, it didn't look as nice. So I'm on that gusset right now, and I'm approaching the other seam. And some underwear styles, like I showed you yesterday in the cutting video, there's no seam on the front, there's just the one on the back. But those pattern pieces take up a little, they're like a weirder shape to fit on my scrap fabric. So I use this one here. Come on. I'm kind of hung up on that little thickness there. Woo! Are we still talking about bonbons? Hey, Susu. Oh, interesting. That looks pretty nice. Let's see. Plenty stretchy. I'm liking this. So at least I'm sticking to my original idea for this project, which was using the the fold over as Picot. All right, here's one of those bumps. You can really see it there. Kind of lifted up my presser foot and moved it a tiny bit, because what happens is it gets pushed down into the hole of your throat plate and gets kind of hung up there, and then the more thread that gets on the back, then you have the thread vomit thing, Hey Jane, how's it going? It's okay. If I'm not careful and this little edge kind of, you know, creates a little extra right here, you'll get these little, I'm exaggerating it. I'm sure none of us would allow that much unless we just kind of took our eyes away for a second. But you can get also these little drag lines then, you know, little torquing lines. So I'm just always trying to push it away so it doesn't happen. You can see how narrow my serging stitch is. Okay, so now we're going to overlock the side seams, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of a helper here. Actually, I'm just going to use this machine here. So what I like to do, this is one of this isn't quite one of my tips, but I'm going to show you one using my regular machine. That I know for a lot of folks that sew a lot of knits and underwear, any kind of knits where you have a seam, hem, cuffs, elastic, any of that. There's one little thing you can do to make them kind of sit better. Pretty sure I changed that to navy blue earlier. Yeah. That looks like black. Oh, yeah, that's black. It was this one. I had so many machines to set up today. 1, 2, 3, 4 machines. You know, I thought about that, Gloria. I think it can. Absolutely. And I have done that too with jeans. You're right. It works really good, doesn't it? But, no, I didn't, Lindsay. I'm using fold over as Picot. So this is fold over elastic. Yeah, so I wonder, Janice, you know, knits, I feel like knits have a mind of their own. But yeah, I think you could try it. Some of mine are nicer than other. You know, one thing you could do is you could sew your gusset with a straight stitch machine. And because this isn't an area that stretches a lot. And even still with a straight stitch, it'll be fine. You can even sew it, stretch it and sew it. Then that would be less bulky because you wouldn't have that row of serging in there. All right, so now what I'm going to do, we're just going to sew one leg hole shut, but we're going to help ourselves by pre-sewing it on this machine here. And so now you got to decide, all right, this elastic's a little wider on this side than this one. Do I line up the blue or do I line up the white, you know? Bad, Jeremy, bad. The reason I do this, I just sew a little bit of stitch, a little right here, is because when I try to put this through my serger, what'll happen is it'll push this top one off toward me. You know what I mean, jelly beans? So we're just going to sew it in the seam allowance just through the elastic, and that's it. Right there. We're just tacking it basically. All right, and now let's do the serger seam. Oh, that's a good point, Barbara. I don't have to worry about it on the industrial though, because the industrial has so much pressure. All right, so we're going to, I'm on this camera, right? Yeah. I have the latency down pretty, like at normal, so it's pretty high, which means the delay between chat and me is pretty big right now. I do that so that subtitles are possible. All right, I'm gonna leave myself tails, okay? You don't need the tail at the waist. You need it here, so just leave that tail there. All right, now we're gonna add the elastic to the waist. Yeah, so Lindsay, this is my white fold over. See? And I'm using it like Picot. Oh, the zigzagging. Oh, yeah, exactly. That's a good point. It could. It does feel like it's so soft that it's kind of getting pushed into the throat plate though, but yeah, you're right. It could help. All right, so we're gonna sew this waist on now. Oh, let's figure out the amount since I don't tend to do that. I'm not as concerned on the waist. that I need to get the waist the same as another one like I am the legs. You know, I want my left and right leg to be about the same, right? So this right here. I'm just going to take off like about the same amount, all right? What is the thing you can do to make your knit sit better? Oh wait, what Blair? Did I start saying something and then forget I was on something? So, oh, no, you didn't miss it. I'm going to show you in a second. I know what you're talking about. Like when I started, yeah. So the first thing though, when we're doing the waistband, remember you want one leg sewn, so you have this side seam done, all right? Okay, so now I'm just gonna, it's not that they're gonna sit better, it's that the finishing technique is going to make it, well, it does kind of sit better. It makes it flatter. All right, I'm just stretching this, finding the middle. Well, maybe not the middle, but I just find a good spot. Keep it stretched. I could use, probably it would benefit from using a wider serger here, so I don't have so much of the picot showing, you know? Picot. I'm just lining it up, pull, and then I kind of figure out, okay, so that's my back, so I'm going to press my side seam towards the back. Lay flat, please. There we go. All right. The thing about these is that there's a lot of back and forth. Okay, so we're going to do this zigzag, and then we're going to finish, and then I'll show you my last little tips that I have. All right, so leave all your tails so far. You might need them. They really help clean finish it. This presser fits in a really weird spot. I think maybe this could be a little narrower. I really didn't give myself a wide seam allowance back there. You know, usually it would be like right here, right? On Picot. But it's not Picot, so. My leg was caught around the table corner. All right, here's one of those lumps. Kind of push it under there. I wonder if the compensating foot would help. I don't feel like it. I feel like a different foot would help because this opening is so big in there. I lose a little bit of purchase on the fabric. You know, kind of like grabbing. Faux Picot. I mean, it's elastic, right? You can use it however you want. All right, so let's push this out of the way. And then let me show you some of my, why is that? I feel like such a weird angle now. I have so much junk over here. Okay, so we're going to do our last side seam here. We're going to pre-sew it again. And you can pre-sew it at the top and bottom because of the elastic. Because of the, that there's elastic at the waist and the leg is what I should say. And then my last little tip will be top stitching that side seam and dealing with this, like, because this is what happens in most knit sewing. Eventually at some point you have a seam like this going through to the bottom. See, look, there's that mismatchness. Sewing police is after me now. So that's what I was talking about, right? So you want to make sure here. I just literally told you not to do that, and then I did, but you know, YOLO. All right, so I'm going to show you a way to fix that little seam coming straight through the bottom. And a lot of home sewing companies have you sew knits that way when they don't need to. Like your cuff, like people think, oh, I'm going to make it easy for you to sew this cuff onto this sleeve because the cuff is so small. But then you have a seam going straight through to the bottom of your nicely folded rib cuff, right? And you don't have to do that. Like sewing the cuff in a circle to the hem isn't really that bad if you do it on the inside. Hey, Sydney. Yeah, we're still here. All these nerdy experimenting people. Humor me. Keeps me going. All right, so I'm just going to pre-sew this top and bottom here. This one is just, it's just going to be a problem. They're literally scrap busting undies with scrap busting elastic though, right? So get rid of all these threads though here. We don't need these tails. We just want our serger tails. Here, I'll just show you what I'm going to do on the other one, so if you need to go or something. But here, so this, when you have a side seam or something like that going through to the hem and you end up with this serger tail, right? What you're going to do is take this tail, you can cut a little bit of it off. Find the back. You need to know which was the back, so this is my back right here. We're going to tuck this tail in towards the back and we're going to stitch it to the seam allowance. Pull really hard on that tail, get it really, you know, sunk down against that seam allowance. Get rid of all these little threads from your back stitches. And now fold that seam. This is actually the leg hole, by the way. Push that seam towards the back like this, the one you just put the seam allowance in, and we're going to top stitch it just along this little part right here. So if my elastic matched the body, I would go from the elastic up. And I might do that because it really will make it nice and flat. It's nicer when the elastic matches, right? Here's another little tip that I've been playing around with. I'm going to start my back stitch. Where's my awl? My poor awl. I'm going to start the back stitch here. And so I'm going to start here and go back and then forward. The reason I'm going to do this is I've been playing around with this idea of not putting my back stitch at the end of something, because then it puts the thread tails and the like knot of back stitch towards the end there. I'm going to make it like cleaner and flatter by starting in the middle from here. And starting on a hump is never a great idea, but you know, we'll try. Yeah, it doesn't really like it. You're going to be able to see this one because of the fact that I'm sewing on the white, so it'll be really obvious. And so now that seam, there's my other back stitch thread, is nice and flat like this and pressed towards the back. And if you look at any of your ready to wear, most of it's like this, but you have this nice smooth transition. It's nice and flat. You know, it more mimics the other side. This is the waist. So, all right, so let's do our last seam on the serger. And a pinch tiny case needles come in are about the same high as a Gina Majig doodad tool. Yeah, you can, Rebecca, but gosh, that takes a long time. All right, I just like to stitch it down. All right, so we're going to overlock this seam. We've already pre-sewed it to line all up. All right, and then now we're going to go back and do the same thing we just did with the cleaning up of the tail and the cleaning up of that seam, because this side, right, so this is my front, my side seams right there, right, and you have this big tag of a side seam right there, so we can pull this tail. I made my serging stitch, by the way, really tight so that it would be like this. I kind of played around with it. I didn't want a loose floppy tail. I'm sick of the loose floppy serger tail that I've been dealing with. All right, and so sometimes you get these little things right here poking out of your serging. You can just get rid of it, like trim it off. Just don't cut your thread. Or sometimes you can kind of loop one of your serger threads around it and then pull it also into this seam allowance here and really, you know, stitch it down nice and flat. Now get rid of all this extra. All this extra. I learned all this working in the garment industry too. Like these are definitely techniques we did. And then I've kind of refined some of them because you get a little bit more allowance in home sewing to kind of work on these things, you know. You don't sometimes get these kinds of perks in production sewing. All right, and so now we're going to push that seam toward, you can stitch along this whole seam. I don't usually, and the reason is that sometimes I'll notice that a stitch will pop later. Wait, let's put my back stitch more on the seam allowance. Here, up here. Let's do down here. So see how this doesn't line up perfectly right here? My wedding room always wants to be like that. Where's my awl? Kind of lost without it. Wah. All right, so if I had my awl, I would do it. But what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll yank it over. Like when it's under my machine, it's really easy. I'll either take this and pull really hard like that and cover it up. You really can do a lot by doing that. Okay, so then we're going to stitch this one down. I want my awl. I don't trust the seam ripper, it'll break. Here it is, okay. Ask me how I know. I was using a seam ripper as an awl for a long time before I discovered it. Here, we'll come towards it. You can see how that little edge is, and I can take the awl and I just pull it over really forcefully, and it really cleans it up. All right, I'll hold that thread tail. Again, I put my back stitch way up there so it's not down here at the end. I'm gonna pull this down here, or I can even do this, push this in there and then pull this over. It's really obvious on the white, but at least you can see it. Then that makes those nice and flat. And like I said yesterday, I have a problem with these kinds of seams really irritate my hips, and so that's why I have my seams so far forward on my underwear, and I definitely make sure that I smooth them down like this. They're a little more flat. All right. Barbara just keeps writing things and retracting messages. All right, that's turned out pretty good for using the fold over elastic as Picot, don't you think? The light's kind of dim in here, sorry. I could probably brighten it. I didn't turn on that light today. I don't know why. But it got a little cloudy. Hello. There we go. I found my awl, yeah. I had a feeling I put it over there. That looks really nice. I like it. Nice and flat. Let's see the stretch. This stretch is really good. Look at that. Yeah, I made a Monetta dress out of this fabric. It looks great now. It'll fade pretty quick because it's cotton, the navy blue. But you know, I'm kind of a sucker for dandelions. There's the back. Look at that zigzag, looks so cute on underwear. And then here's the inside. So overlock with zigzag, with fold over elastic as Picot. These are pretty high-waisted, obviously. So yeah, those turned out really good. So thank you, Gloria. Okay, I don't think I've missed any comments or questions. Exactly, Ray. 3 hours later, we have 1 pair of underwear. So I ended up doing none of this. I did overlock with zigzag on the fold over elastic. I mashed it all up. So, and I feel like I did this so that I would get rid of a project in my bins, and now I have 12 pairs of underwear cut out and only one of them sewn. Oh, how did I deal with thread till the side seam? Okay, so what I do, Michelle, is I pull it into the seam allowance, like along the seam allowance. It's in there, right there, on the back side. And I press the seam, and I stitch it down, stitch it in the seam allowance really tight. I pull it really firmly into the seam allowance. And then I push the seam allowance towards the back, and I top stitch for like a 1/2 inch. Just up to the end of the seam allowance. And then it makes it nice and flat and clean right there. Anytime you have a juncture that's going to the outer edge of something like a cuff, a hem on a shirt, neck bands, because there's a lot of patterns out there that make you sew those things in flat when you could sew them in the round. Or maybe you're doing something so the fabric is so bulky you have to sew it flat, or it doesn't stretch much. So it's art gallery fabric, I'm pretty sure, Nancy. And I'm pretty sure my local fabric store still has it. Yeah, these turned out pretty cute. Yay for underwear. I like the white on there. So what did we learn today? We learned that zigzag and zigzag on Picot was the best for my Picot. But your elastic could vary and your fabric could vary. So when we did these tests, we did it all on this shark fabric, but a couple of them we did on this candy yarn dye knit from Hearts fabric. And then we corrected that error and said, all right, let's just put those two oddballs that were on this fabric, we'll put on the other side of one of the sharks, right? So like this. See? And then we discovered that, oh, that changed the results. So obviously fabric makes a big difference. The stretchier your fabric, the stretchier your underwear are going to be. But if you want a firmer underwear with not a lot, like maybe you want some shaping or something like that, you're going to look for something that's going to have really good recovery so that it's not bagging out over the course of the day. Like maybe a microfiber, like you can get at the bra making places. And then, because some of my favorite stuff is like that. I love that, nice smooth. I like my underwear not being grabby with my outer clothing. So yeah, so I did a lot of scrap busting. Right, Janice? But hey, we got a black liner. You can do whatever you want, right? No one will know about the black liner though. 3 hours later, we have a pair of underwear. I'll finish this other 2 today too. So thanks for being a part of my experiments today. We learned a lot, so make sure you do some tests. If your fabric stretches a lot, if it, you might be good with whatever you choose. So Saturday, I will be sewing the Sydney dress. It's also knit. It'll go really fast. Synthetics are going to have better recovery in general, Terry. Cotton, not so much, but you know, cotton has its own benefits. But no, unless they say it, Because that's why some denims, stretch denims, it's really nice when they say it has good recovery. Because some stretch denims are so much better than they were like 15 years ago. Man, there are some that were just like, ugh, you know? You'd end up with knees that were, if you were a mom and you were on the ground all day, crawling around with your kids, your knees would be all baggy. Your butt would be all baggy, you know, from sitting all day or being on your hands and knees, picking up toys and playing. So, yeah, I'm so glad you all came. I'm glad you put up with my experiments, you know. If you're new here, check out my guild. It's a really amazing space, sosoguild.com. And a lot of these people are in there. It's a really nice community. What else do I want to say? I don't know. Happy sewing! Tag me on Instagram if you make anything. I love seeing what you guys make. So I'll see you Saturday, same time, same place, making the Sydney dress. 2 weeks from now, I'll be making the Girl Friday blouse by Decades of Style. It looks really cool. Yeah, I think that's about right, Janice. I think I did time it last time. If I do it in a batch, it's better because I do that back and forth with the side seam. If I were doing the cover stitch, fold over cover stitch, it's pretty darn fast. You know? Yeah, nerds! Oops, sorry, I just whacked the microphone. All right, I'll see you guys Saturday. Have a good one.